Howdy doody, my name is Susie and I am getting ready for New Year's Eve. I'm hosting a New Year's Eve dinner this year for my family, and I'm just doing a dry run on what I'm wearing for the evening, what my menu is going to consist of, and I came across the perfect recipe for dessert. And this is something that is extremely presentable, very appropriate for New Year's Eve, and it's something I can make ahead, and that is champagne jellied flutes. Now, I've made this years ago. I think I found it on an Anna Olson recipe, but more recently I found this on the Food Network, and there's an updated version where there's some foam on the top of the fluted champagne glasses. It looks really beautiful. So this is super easy to make. It doesn't cost a lot, and it's going to be a dessert that I think your New Year's Eve party would be memorable. But I think that this recipe is great for any occasion. For this recipe, you're going to need some champagne or sparkling wine of your choice. We're going to need some fruit. I'm using some grapes, 1 package of gelatin. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of fruit juice of your choice. I'm using rhubarb, a 1/4 cup of water. We're going to need 1 tablespoon of cream, or half and half, 4 champagne flutes, a bowl, and a whisk. So the first thing you're going to have to do is put your champagne flutes to chill. And I've just got mine in the freezer, and they'll chill for about 10 minutes until I'm ready to make my dessert. This is basically, you're making a jello, but there's a couple of steps that you need to follow in order for everything to set appropriately. And one of them is making sure that your glasses are chilled. So we've got our champagne flutes in the freezer and they are chilling. Now the first thing that you're going to need is your 1/4 cup of cold water. And to the 1/4 cup of cold water, you're going to add a full package of gelatin, which is also the equivalent of 1 tablespoon of gelatin. And of course, if you are vegetarian or vegan, you're going to use agar-agar. So you just want to mix that up, and you want to let it set until it creates a jelly, and that's going to be 2 minutes. So I'm actually going to time it. So now that you've mixed up your gelatin with cold water, you're just going to set that off to the side. I've got my chilled sparkling wine. This is non-alcoholic that I'm using for demonstrations, but I'll be using the real thing on New Year's Eve. And then I'm going to grab a bowl and I'm going to fill it with ice and water. So I've got my bowl with ice water, a 4-cup measuring cup that I'm going to be mixing my solution in, and I'm just going to put it in my ice bath to cool it down. I'm going to take my 1/4 cup of fruit juice and I'm going to heat it up in the microwave for about 30 seconds. It is hot, I can see the smoke. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the hot liquid to the gelatin that has been setting. And I'm just going to stir it until it's really dissolved. So now I've combined the hot and cold. I'm going to add this to my measuring cup. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of my sparkling wine or champagne. So now you want to mix this around in the ice bath because you want that gelatin to react and cool down as quickly as possible. The cooler it is, the faster it's going to set. Keep that in the ice until it's completely cooled down and it's mixed. And now I'm going to get my chilled champagne flutes. So we have our 4 chilled flutes. We're going to pour that equally into all of our flutes, and we're going to reserve about half a cup. We're going to reserve that for our topper. And you want to pour that slowly so that they are all equal. And now this is going to go in the fridge for 30 minutes. And then our reserved half a cup of gelatin is going to go in the fridge for 30 minutes as well. And at the end of the 30 minutes, we're going to actually add our fruit. So basically, we're just firming up the jello firm enough that the grapes will be suspended in our glass. And then at that time, we're going to mix our tablespoon of cream with our set gelatin, and that's going to create a foam on top, which is going to mimic the frothiness of a freshly poured glass of champagne. So put this in the fridge as well. So it's been 30 minutes, there's the timer. We're going to get our gelatin out of the fridge. So our gelatin is partially set, and we just want it to set enough to allow our grapes to actually float. And what we're trying to do is get the grapes just to be suspended mid-glass. And you might have to push it down a little bit. I'll add 2 to each. Two or 3, and we're just leaving enough room for the foam. Gently set those to the side. So now we've got our leftover gelatin, and it's firmed up slightly. And all we're gonna do is add 1 tablespoon of either full fat cream or half and half cream. And we want to whisk it to create some froth. There's some froth. And then we're just going to just gently pour a little bit on top of each equally. And you see why we want to do it at this point, because the gelatin is partially set. It will not allow the mixture to mix with the champagne. Wow. That looks like a beautiful glass of champagne. Look at that. Now we've got to gently put this back into the fridge and let it sit for 2 to 3 hours. So it's been a couple of hours, and I'm going to pull out one of our champagne flutes to see what it tastes like. Here's the set champagne flute. You can see it's very firm. I don't want to jiggle it too much. And that foam on top is a little bit more jiggly than on the bottom. You can see how this has really set. The top is a little jiggly and the fruit is suspended. So let's see what it tastes like. The foam is delicious because of the cream. Try and get a little bit more jello. It's delicious. It's really delicious. It's such a sophisticated dessert, but yet it's so simple. And if you wanted to make these for children, obviously you can use the non-alcoholic bubbly grapefruit juice, and maybe perhaps not serve it to them in crystal, maybe serve it to them in plastic glasses, but how fancy it is for a New Year's Eve dinner. And then when you get to the bottom, you get the grape. It is so light and refreshing, but it really is delicious. So if you try this recipe and you like it, I hope you share it. In the meantime, I just want to wish everyone a very happy and healthy new year. See you in 2022. Oh, you can't drink it. You gotta eat it. Happy New Year's!